So it's time for our first panel discussion featuring industry experts who will explore how mid-tier businesses can implement SASE, focusing on critical security features and bandwidth optimization for remote workforces. We have Mr. K. Yegneshwara Iyer, cybersecurity consultant from Cystech Controls, who is the moderator for the panel discussion. With over 37 years of experience in IT leadership roles, he has successfully led innovative IT and cybersecurity strategies for top organizations. He brings deep expertise in transforming IT operations, aligning technology with business goals, and strengthening cybersecurity resilience. We also have Dr. Jagannath Sahoo, CISO at Gujarat Fluorochemicals Limited. As an expert with 15 years of experience, he leverages his expertise in cyber intelligence and risk management to align security strategies with business goals. He ensures resilience through advanced security architectures. Then we have Mr. Baidyanath Kumar, CISO and DPO at JK Lakshmi Cement. With 13 plus years of experience, he specializes in system security design, consulting and implementation across a range of technologies, excelling in CISO services, cyber program management, and security operations. He has been recognized as a Security Leader of the Year by the Data Security Council of India and awarded CISO of the Year by UBS Forums. Next we have Mr. Anirudh Kaushik, Director at EY. He has 19 plus years of global experience in network and security architecture, security risk management, solution design, and consulting. He has driven successful security strategies and transformation programs across diverse industries and geographies. Last but certainly not the least, we have Mr. Harshpal Bhati, Sales Engineer at Cato Networks. Mr. Harshpal brings a seasoned 17-year career in cybersecurity, playing a significant role in supporting large network security transformation projects. He specializes in assisting large IT enterprise customers as well as supporting global system integrators, managing security service providers, and telecom customers. Let's give a round of applause to all our distinguished panelists.
So, I want to start this with a not a trick question and a genuine question. Anyone who has or does read books by P.G. Wodehouse? Hands up. Anyone? P.G. Wodehouse? Anyone heard of the author? Oh, nice. Yes. Thank you. I'm loud enough, I think. So, one of his novels, he introduces the book. He says, I'm going to do this story, but I'm confused. Should I address people who know nothing about this? Or should I address most of them who know everything about this? And they're going to get bored because I'm going to introduce old concepts. So we are going to take the risk of, most of you know what the SASE is, S-A-S-E, secure. So we're going to take that risk. That some of you are going to get bored. So please be patient for people like me who still like to learn about what SASE does. And I will ask this question of Harshpal. What are those four terms in SASE? Secure, access, service, edge.
Yeah, thanks, Iyer. First of all, the biggest challenge, if you see nowadays into the cybersecurity, is the complexity. And almost every cyber incident, what we see, it is because of the misconfiguration, right? So now the whole idea of the SASE is how do we do the convergence of networking and security, and then basically make it simplify, right? So we have seen that when the maybe from 20 years ago, this IT security market started, we used to have the different set of products, right? And then we used to have the different set of expertise to manage all of these products. The whole idea of SASE is unifying network security in a one platform and then make it simple so that very quickly and easily the organization can adopt the network security, and especially for the mid-market, mid-segment of the customer who do not have a large footprint, right? Or maybe they do not have the big security team to manage that. For them, it is a game changer because it's going to make life very easy for them in order to adopt the cybersecurity framework and then basically to start from there. Yeah.
So what are the main components of SASE offering? You yourself have a SASE offering, right, as a platform. how would a company who is, most of us here are working in companies already use multiple security products, use multiple platforms, multiple technologies, and we've been doing that for many years.
Yeah.
So what is the offering of, what is the promise of SASE, or is it still in hype world?
So of course, there are basically, as I said, the SASE has to be divided into the two parts. One is the network and security. And then if we deep down into it, right, there are different components which basically build this particular part. So the one part which is the SSE, Secure Service Edge, right? What does it do is basically the traditional different set of the product that you used to have, right? For example, the traditional firewalls, or maybe traditional DLP solutions, or maybe the point product ZTNA solutions. So the SASE has component, all of this, for example, your firewall as a service, your IPS, the CASB, DLP, remote browser isolations, right? These are basically the technology. We build the SSE part, right? And then basically the second part, which is the network. Network is basically, we have seen, for example, maybe especially in the last 7 years, lot of transformation has happened on the network side where the customer has moved from traditional routers to the SD-WAN, right? So the second part is the SD-WAN, which basically the whole idea of SD-WAN is the optimization of the last mile connectivity, right? And then basically do the WAN optimization for your WAN traffic, right? So when we combine all of these with the controls which I talked about, then basically this entire framework completes. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
I want to add, for me, SASE is completely expressway for all digital traffic. Yeah. Okay, and the experience would be same whether you are office, whether it is home, or whether you are on road. Okay, all traffic I'm routing through SASE only. Particularly, I've excluded a couple of traffic, just like meeting traffic, UDP traffic, I've just excluded. Otherwise, everything I've done. So I have taken all components of the SASE, 10 components I've taken, whether it is firewall, VPN, cloud proxy, CASB, RBI, remote browser isolation, every components I have taken from, because I'm getting everything in single pane of glass. No need to take a separate vendor for VPN, separate vendor for cloud proxy, separate vendor for JTNA, separate vendor for all these things. In single pane of glass, they will get everything. So for me, it is express route for all the traffic.
Exactly. And this is where basically what happens, especially when you have the different edges. Let's say you have your corporate employees working from home, you have the branches, you have the plants, right? So basically the traffic is coming from the different edge. Now it's really difficult to basically manage putting the control onto the different edges, right? And then basically, let's say with the thousands of the branches, managing the branches firewalls onto the 1,000 location is a big headache. And let's say you're putting so much money, and one of the firewall is compromised for one of the location where you had the rogue employees, right? All your investment goes for a toss. Now the whole idea of the SASE is, instead of relying onto the 1,000 places putting security control, just unify it so that it becomes very easy to manage. And let's say tomorrow some vulnerability comes in, right? Instead of, let's say you need to upgrade those of the 1,000 firewalls, the SASE allows you to do it one place. And the best thing is, because it is being available as a service, right? So in this case, even that's not end customer problem. To fix this, there is security expertise who is basically coming with the SASE as a service, and this is their responsibility to fix those gaps.
Yeah. Thank you. Anirudh, I just want to pick your brains on this. What are you seeing amongst your customers? What is their thought process on how they should adopt? Do they liking individual tools, separate tools, or as he said, are they liking the approach of SASE where everything is built in one tool? What are you seeing amongst your customers? It would be nice to know if you can share some of experience with mid-market customers, right? But as I was telling somebody in the morning, enterprise, large customers, mid-sized customers, their needs are not different. They only differ by degree.
Absolutely. So, as Harsh already mentioned, that the best use case is unification, that everybody want a unified platform, and they don't want, it actually decrease the administrative cost also from the, you can say, client or customer side also. Plus, it gives you the visibility across the same platform on the multiple, you can say, threat vectors. They can see how my edge is working, how network traffic is coming, what kind of, you can say, proxy kind of services there, what kind of cloud services are there. So CASB can filter those things, proxy can provide that filtering, plus firewall can be managed internally. So they find it valuable solution. Rather than managing 10 solutions, they can manage one solution. So that's a good thing that customers are seeing, and adoption is really good in the industry. Only thing is, as I just want to add one thing. If we go back into the history, why actually SASE born? SASE, the requirement come when we have started moving towards the cloud and a local internet breakout has started coming. Because now most of my branch traffic is going outside directly to the internet. I don't need to send my traffic back to the data centers. So I need a solution which can filter and provide the kind of security I was having in my data centers, but still it is saving my cost on the MPLS side, plus providing those services. That's how the SD-WAN and SASE has come into the picture, and they have provided that thing. And that's how the adoption is happening in the industry, and everybody is going towards this.
Professor, can I come to you? I was wondering, when I was younger, we always used to think that specialized tools are much better because, they are specialized. They only do that one thing and they do that well. Whereas tools that claim to do everything are generally not as capable as all the specialized tools put together. But also, as Mandar said, now increasingly when you use multiple tools, you might have a lot of gaps in between those tools where attacks could filter through. What has been your experience? Is this promise of SASE a promise that's going to hold water? Right? Are we going to see a tool that delivers, if not everything we need, most of the functionality of standalone specialized products? And what has been your experience?
Yeah, I think the discussion is very pertinent in the modern context when we talk about SASE, right? But before putting any viewpoint, right, whether SASE should be adopted or not, any business should be looking first into their context. So understanding of the business context is more important. For example, if you see in manufacturing context, right, post-pandemic situation or post-industry 4.0 and industry 5.0, right? So with the advent of that, something is very much talked about is how industry is moving forward for a smart manufacturing. And here comes the importance of convergence, right? Because a lot of process optimization, you have to do data analytics in manufacturing, and then you need to converge your OT systems to the IT. And that's why very important to understand the business context. I just put an example. Okay, so you talk about retail, e-commerce, any businesses, they need to first look into their business context before jumping into any solution or concluding any solution. And then once these all things are finalized, then you have to look into whether the point product approach is something which is best fit for you or a converged approach. But yes, with this all sort of radius blast, right? The way security landscape or threat landscape is changing, right? So one thing is to understand very clearly, are you completely aware of your radius blast? Because there is no castle and moat security now, right? Because perimeter is no longer context. The moment if we are talking about post-pandemic scenarios, right? So the context is something which is completely tied to identity now, and identities are getting compromised. So we need to think through. We need to come up with a good plan before concluding a solution, whether the SASE is the right fit or not. Once you have decided that SASE is the right fit, then what are all the important components, which is, for example, if I'm not operating in cloud itself, might be the CASB requirement is not there. So the fitment of the solution is very important. Understanding of the context is important. And then these all converged solutions, yes, it is getting a lot of traction across the industries when you are talking about replacing the VPNs and all. Because if you see, just talk about a decade, how it has evolved. Industries or any organization is investing a lot in putting a lot of solutions. What is there? We are just adding the solution at the cost of complexity. More, you can say that screens, more alert fatigues and all. And then you don't have the control over the attackers also, right? So, and that's why we are seeing a 4% of CGR in overall cost of a data breach. So from $3 million, it has increased to $4.8 million just in a decade. So it means that,
right?
Yeah, so it means that there is something we are not doing correctly. So we need to assess first our context, then we have to decide on the solution. So that is something the mindset itself has to change, that first of all, look into the context, whether your business context requires that or not, do the complete thorough risk assessment, and then come up with the solution, right set of solution, framework, adoption of the frameworks like NIST and all, and then map the solutions accordingly.
Super, makes sense. I just have one follow-up question to all of you. Anirudh, we'll start with you, then come to Jagannath, and then come to Harshad. Did you, in your experience, find that, because now we have only one product, is there a skill issue here, right? Because there might be people who have specialized in mid-market companies are not small companies, they're not like SMEs, there will be one-man army, like I used to be many years ago, right? Does everything, including fetching the tea sometimes. But now they have multiple roles. Now, how is that affecting the actual adoption, implementation of certainly a complex product? We are all agreeing that SASE platforms products give us most of the functionality that we would mostly require. And of course, Jagannath correctly said, using a risk-based approach, which is also, community partner ISACA. We learn from ISACA's, knowledge that we always take a risk-based approach to, and we apply appropriate controls. Now, do you see any issues with, in your experience, implementation or with skills that is there a lot of retraining to be required? Is there a mindset change? What has been your experience? And I will request, after you, Jagannath, also to address the same thing because he's implemented it. Thanks.
So, it's fine. So, definitely there is a skill requirement because if you see, SASE as a solution has a lot of components. Like it has SD-WAN side, where SD-WAN plus there is a WAN optimization also, which is a separate technology which works in a different way, means data deduplication, those kind of compression technologies are part of that. So, and every solution in the SASE SASE world, all the components are different solutions all together. And when we were working on these as individual solutions, there were different skill sets which were required. But now, because most of things are coming as a service, so things are little bit eased, but still we need a skill from a network security point of view, where people understand the actual flow and how the actual architecture of the SASE is working, how the different components are aligned and integrated. People who understand this part can easily work on these solutions. Otherwise, they need to rely on the service partners or on the service providers or like Cato Network or any other who is actually a SASE provider. They need to rely on them. But from a customer side, I believe they should understand the flow, how the traffic is moving from my edge towards the cloud and how the end users are accessing it.
Yeah, sir, I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you. After COVID, taught a lot lesson actually. After COVID, we came to know zero trust is the only trust. Cloud is the only data center. Home is the new office. Okay, and low code becomes low code. So all things we are getting together in SASE. Okay, all four things, whatever I'm telling you, I'm getting through SASE. I removed one SASE and implemented another case in 2 days for 3,000 users. Even if enter 3,000 user out of that, nobody was aware, something got removed, something got changed. Although same time I was doing for EDR also, I replaced EDR and replaced SASE in 2 days for 3,000 users. Only thing is you should have proper collaboration, you should get a proper support from the OEMs, and you should do thoroughly microly testing. So I tested 5 users, 10 users, then I confident I implemented for all users like this. So if you are doing testing, so there is no special skill set is required. It is very user friendly. Ajay code, zero code, no code, no need to just drag and drop feature is there. Almost everything is written. You have to just tick alakrata everything you want to tick. So it is not so difficult. It is very easy.
But what about training your security teams on a newer interface? There will be some changes to. There might be agents, there might be routing changes, you will have special workflows. So did you face any challenges in your teams learning? What did your OEM help you learn? How did your OEM help you?
Yeah, OEM helped and the SI partner also helped. So we got all guidance from them. So ultimately, and we collaborated for other, I was speaking to other CISOs who just faced the same things. He removed one SASE, added one SASE. Okay, I just collaborated with him also, so to understand what he learned, that learning I'm getting here. So that I implemented. So it was very cakewalk for all of us.
Do you agree with that, Jagannath? Do you agree with that, Jagannath? Do you agree with that?
Slightly different opinion here, but yes, when we talk about the implementation and skill set of the team, so particularly if you see these all concepts, what SASE offers, right? So we talk about CASB, you talk about proxy, cloud proxy, basically. You talk about ZTNA, you talk
Firewall
about
as a service,
SSPM,
yeah, or SD-WAN.
firewall as a service, then digital experience monitoring, or even other features also. There are multiple features in networking services also, apart from SD-WAN, like quality of services and all those things are the important parameters. So the core fundamental remains same, right? The way, for example, you have to configure a swig in the days of blue coat proxy or any other standalone proxy, the core fundamental remains same, right? In any technology, if you see, you have to work on your basics. You have to understand the basic concepts of the security, and the team need to be geared up. Just look into the new interface. That's all, and alignment with that. And it is something, yes, in SASE framework, if you ask about, so all these technologies are converged together. So the team need to be aligned with even the technology partner and even the support from OEM directly to understand how these things are configured. And what we have implemented, it is something at the fully you can say that customized setup of things, right? We developed even the custom codes within the program itself, just to make the user interactive pages and user interface designs and all. So those all things depend upon the expertise, but at core fundamentals, if you see, these things are the technology or something which is just converged, but concept remains the same. That's all.
Ashwal, have you faced the same? Have you seen the same as both of them just mentioned?
Yeah, so I'm actually onto the another side of it, but I will definitely agree with the sir, Sahoo sir. When even I started the conversation for the SASE, the whole idea of the SASE is basically to simplify the operations, right? That's the whole idea. Now, what is the point? Let's say if customer buying a SASE product, it takes him to implement the 6 month, right? Of course, the OEM who is selling that product is not going to work out, right? So the SASE product has to be that simplified, and as sir said, the reference customer about it, right? Who was able to implement within a month of the time. And to the OEM, of course, if the implementation doesn't happen within the time, then he's going to lose the revenue. And that's the beauty of the service. So by the time you use it, you pay it, right? And I think this is where basically all the complexity is going down.
Yeah. I have another related question to this, and I think Jagannath and Jagannath, both of you can take this question one at a time. We can start with you. We talk of the edge accessing resources on the cloud, but as we saw from Mandar's initial presentation, insider threats, right? And yes, we do know that the ZTNA, the Zero Trust Network Access Architecture, is part of a SASE offering. How efficient is that in allowing context and identity controlled access to internal resources? Because not everything is 100% on the cloud yet, and we are not all in the cloud. We still have feet on the ground.
See, it's actually also great. We'll get all insider threat also. If somebody is through UBA behavior, UBA analysis and something, if something is other than general behavior is happening, it will proactively give alerts. And very interesting fact, one day I sat with my HR head. I asked, do you know how many people are sending CV from their office laptop? And it was giving details. This person was saving this through this logic also. How many people are sending? That means those employees are probably they're trying to leave these organizations. Okay, so a lot of insight will get. So on the basis of subscription, whatever SASE subscription we have taken, so we'll get insights. So I have taken almost every subscriptions. For senior user, I take different subscriptions. For senior user, I have allowed all internet. So I take RBI for them, report browser isolation from them, because I cannot stop internet from them. So on the basis of how you configure, how you handle it, that depends.
Yeah, so just wanted to add what he mentioned. So obviously, RBI is remote browser isolation. So with that, you can control the CXO's access, correct? Because you don't want to control everything for CXOs. But overall, if you talk about the data protection controls and cybersecurity in conjugation, and that's the aim of SASE, to solve it very quickly, because you don't need to invest into the DLP solutions where you have to worry about the optical character recognition and the other sort of patterns recognition and all those things. So you need to choose a solution which is matured enough to look into the consistent and context-aware data protection. So that is the need of the R. So it's like, am I trusting the device? I am trusting the user, Am I trusting the risk? Am I trusting the application, instance of the application, or I'm just limiting it to some sort of activity-based policy? That is not the actual data chasing DLP, right? So when we try to adopt the DLP framework, right? So to stop the insider threats, we have to look into the complete context aware for which set of users you need to control the activity part, and for which set of user you need to look into beyond that, right? For example, if the case what he mentioned, the CV uploads and all. So you can't control completely the users with a restrictive environment coming up like that, that everything should be blocked when you are communicating via Gmail, right? When I was working for government organization working with Infosys, so there was a control like that when these things were evolving, right? I'm not saying that the technology was not matured that time, but this is something which, when we are talking about context aware, every business want their user to work with the freedom and then also to control with the right set of controls. That's called as adaptive security and data protection controls. So when we are talking about context aware, so this important piece is there in the SASE. You need to look into the user coaching, right set of practices, and then put the controls. That all depends upon the security team, how they are mature to configure that, whether all users have to be completely discarded to do some sort of upload activities via webmails, Gmails, cloud DLP and all those things, or are you designing your all these solutions in conjugation in very well? That's all different.
So that's again risk profiling, right?
Yes, sir, just I want to add one thing. As per the new NIST guidelines, they told you don't keep password for 8 character, keep it 14 to 16 character. No need to change also. So we applied the same policy. We get 15 character password is as per the AD accepted 15 character. But as per the NIST also, password change is required when it is getting compromised. So that also I'm report getting from my SASE. How it is getting? So it is checking the hash value. If it is getting in the same hash value in dark web, it is telling this password is compromised. So that also in SASE in terms helping me to identify how many user password is got compromised.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, please.
One of the things I really want to add it here is, maybe if you look at like last 20 years, I think a lot of changes has happened in your industry. Maybe if you look at, we used to have the Microsoft Exchange, right? Then email used to be on-prem. And we didn't realize what time that the changes has happened. And hardly we have now the customer using the Exchange. And for example, let's say if any customer has to basically adopt an email service, I don't think it takes more than half an hour for them to adopt. But you look at the other legacy model, right? It takes them, of course, month of the time to build all the ecosystem, right? I think we are stepping into now the third decade, where I think a lot of changes is going to happen into the network security, where the way we have seen the changes in the last 2 decades, maybe the data center moved to the AWS and Azure, right? I think this was the piece was missing from the network security side. And I think maybe in another 5-6 years, you will see that a lot of adoption will happen on this service models, because this is suiting the business. Business need it to be ready to use. Yeah.
Very nice. So that leads me to, you both of you, and all of you mentioned one thing. I want to start with Anirudh. Anirudh, how are you seeing businesses adapting SASE specifically from an incident response perspective, right? We are traditionally used to either SOCs and then identifying, or eliminating possible false positives. How do you see SASE with the total visibility of hopefully the whole network, right, and all the distributed teams? How do you see SASE helping your customers as an industry observer in addressing incident response needs, especially with certain saying that you have to report all security incidents within 6 hours, right? Abroad you have different needs, and of course as we understand more and more about DPDP, there will be more needs on tracking what kind of information is flowing through our networks, right? What are you seeing with your customers, and how are they managing the incident response protocol?
Definitely, after implementing SASE, the incident response time is reduced, because now you have a platform that is covering most of the things, and the context is coming. So now you have a log which is going in a SOC, which is already kind of a enriched log, which is providing a context of different security solutions, and it is providing supporting the incident response team to act fast. And as it's a layered approach also in this SASE, so it is eliminating lot of risk at that level itself, and providing you the you can say the report only. And even if the correlation that is required at the SOC level, it is happening in a better way, because now you have one factor which is covering lot of things on the perimeter side. Then you have XDR, EDR kind of solution, and if you correlate those things, you will have a better incident response mechanism, and which is fast.
Thank you.
In fact, Iyer, before just coming in here, I was having some conversation with Anirudh on this topic. So one of the things, for example, if I look at how the incident response is going to be addressed very quickly using the SASE is, for example, what happens is one of the classic case happened maybe last week. So there was a whole outage in my area for the ISP side of it, right? And one of my friend who lives into the same colony, he's called me, Harshpal, is there an outage? I said, no, my home internet is working. Well, how do you know you're not in home, right? And I said, I should have get an alert if this internet is not working. Bole, how? So I said, I have the SD-WAN put in my home. So all my internet traffic from my home is going through that SD-WAN, and I have the backup connectivity, which is the 5G connectivity. And from there, it's working. And then basically, coming to the incident response, because this was an incident. It could be for the corporate, of course, right? So then basically, after just 5 minutes of the time, I just logged into the console, right? And I was able to generate an AI report, which actually identify what time the link went down and how much was the jitter and when it came back again and what time it got established, right? So just within a 5 minutes of the time, without even going and logging to the multiple places, using the AI story, I was able to identify the RCA. Now, this was for the network operation perspective, but I think this is also true for the cyber security incident if that happens.
From your own experience, Jagannath, are you seeing that as we go along, if not already there, we're going to be reducing the footprint of tools like a SOC or a SIEM or SOARS? Are you seeing that all that coming into, if not already there to a certain extent, which is going to help you with identifying the right incidents that you need to respond to and eliminating those, so you have a more smoother incident response practice?
Correct. I think these are the complementing tools. For sure, it's no. That's SASE is the replacement of the SOC. Okay, so if you talk about SOC, so SOC is something where we need to understand what are the important components or fundamental components of a SOC. SIEM evolving into XDR. Then also you need SIEM for getting the data application logs and all those things from different sources,
correlation,
right? Correlation rules and all those things. So SIEM, SOAR. Then when we are talking about analytics, right? Then we are talking about the tools like what we call as connected defense, right? Threat intel. In addition to that, incident response maturity in terms of single glass of pane in SOC. So these all important tools are part of that converged. And apart from that, in attack surface management also getting added from outside view. Then we are talking about identity threat detection and response these days, right? So then comes the CDR and all. So these a lot of technologies are coming into place in the SOC, which is not completely getting there by this SASE. But yes, these are something which are the complementing ones. And of course, if the feeds directly coming from your SASE to the SOC, it is going to improve the obviously incident response time in terms of mean time to detect and respond also. First of all, let's understand when you are migrating to a SASE technology. So itself, the reduction of alerts is going to reduce. Reduction of incidents is going to happen, right? Because things are getting controlled. The security is always on, what we call. So that is the very important concept. So in VPN and all those things, if you understand, the post-continuous authentication is something which was missing. Now, introducing ZTNA along with the identity security, that's come the true ZTNA, what we call as ZTNA 2.0, right? So these all things, when these are things getting integrated, and when these all feeds are getting there in the SOC, you will be having the matured alerts, and then obviously you should not be looking any sort of lot of false positives, or you should not be wasting time into looking the, you can say finding a needle in the haystack. You directly have the pinpointed actual attack, which helps you to do better sort of responses by implementing the right set of SOAR rules. So you just need to look into what all logs are coming from your any service provider solution, right? Whatever you have opted for SASE, and then you can implement the framework accordingly for the SOAR playbooks.
Makes sense. That's your
Yeah,
experience
just
with the same.
covered everything. I just, again, just one line I'll tell you, SASE will be input for the SOC, not for computation for the SOC. Okay, I'll give a couple of examples where we have installed SASE application in handheld devices and it is working fine without anything because most of the handheld devices work on Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so putting that application in a handheld device is working fine. But today morning I was reading through one article also. The more point of presence SASE is having, more experience better will get it. There is a site called sasecloudmap.com. You can find it out. You can put Cato against somebody, and you can find out how many pops they have. And it is giving graphical view and world graphical view. Although data was 4 months old, site is sasecloudmap.com. It's a very interesting site. You can see which SASE is, how many pop is there, where you'll get better experience.
And then you can decide which
You
you
can
want
decide,
to go,
yeah.
go with,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Depending on how your organization is spread,
Yes,
how
yes.
your traffic flows are.
Right.
Andrit, what are you seeing as an industry observer? What are you seeing? What are the exciting new developments in SASE? Like Jagannath, he mentioned XDR, EDR. Do you see that there could be possible consolidation in the industry? Cato buying a few CrowdStrike, for example, and then everything is coming to you as one single solution.
So if I go with the basic definition of SASE, it already have all the components which are required from because SASE, if you see, by nature is more of a solution for a perimeter security. It covers the components from a network and a network security side. Endpoint, still we need endpoint solutions, XDR, and so these are complementary solutions. As we said that, as we inline it in the SASE, multiple solutions. So we have, you can say, defense in depth approach in a single solution. Rather than having 10 different solutions, we have one solution which caters to all these problems. In addition, it has DLP, it has CASB, it has this proxy, firewall as a service, and it is you can say providing the ease for management. Plus the log which is coming for the analysis, it's already enriched. It is coming with lot of, you can say, bypassing through multiple solutions, and it is protecting it. So from a advancement in that, I only see an AI related threat intel that can be utilized, that can utilize the SASE, you can say, things. But I don't think any other component, because ZTNA, whatever perimeter
levels are more or less secured.
It is already part of the SASE architecture, because that comes as an architecture. Obviously, different vendors are taking in a different approach.
Different approaches.
But like people have added RBI also to it. They may add another solution which comes. So, but on with a basic definition of SASE, it covers most of the things which were required.
What has been your?
Yeah, just wanted to add what Anirudh mentioned, because I see a huge potential to be evolved,
expand the capabilities
in the
SASE.
capabilities.
Yeah.
Being a technical implementer, so I always focus to look into the technical aspects of the problem. So SASE has a compelling array of benefits, that's for sure, but there are advancements required for sure. I'm giving you multiple examples. Like, for example, when you talk about controlling the access coming from unmanaged devices, so enterprise security browser is the need of the hour, and that's why SASE is moving towards that area. And I can see the leading players, I would not name them, but they are looking into enterprise browser and being part of their even CAB advisory board. I'm always looking into those advancement, how they are coming up with that approach. So that is one fundamental need of the hour, where you have to think beyond the managed devices. For example, always on security works only when you are managing the devices, or you can have some sort of limited reverse proxy nature deployment to control some sort of SaaS application or O365 applications. What about unmanaged devices? Where is the continuous trust verifications once they are connecting to you by allowing or even disconnecting their VPN or even the SASE network also, because they have to work for multiple customers. So they can't put you always on security, and if you ask them to do that, they will not basically be completely okay with that. So the enterprise security browser. Then the second important thing is when we are talking about DLP, so DLP area has to mature a lot, because SSL pinned applications, if you see, they are completely blind into data context. So are we completely going to block all the accesses where SSL pinned applications are there? The answer is no. The CXOs are not going to allow you, because WhatsApp has to also use as a business WhatsApp, right? And then when you are not looking into data, what data is getting controlled. So SASE is having that limitation in terms of that. So these are the multiple senses, and the other important and the last important piece, the important piece I want to highlight, there are multiple answers to the advancement, but yes, DSPM is one more important area where it has to evolve from the classification to complete data security posture management as an integrated framework as part of the overall solution itself.
And do you see
not
that
only
happening?
DLP.
Do you see that happening? Do you see that from a vendor's perspective, there is
The
a case
mindset
for
is
that
there.
to
I
happen?
think if you see the architecture-wise, so at the back end, it is like Cato networks, or you talk about Zscaler, they have the complete DTLS-based architecture at the back end, which is not a VPN-centric. I usually don't take the name of the vendor, but
that's okay.
just
That's
for
okay.
example,
it's all good. We have a vendor here, so it's good. It's all right.
How these technologies have to be differ, and how the secured have to, whether you have to choose a OEM which is VPN-centric concept or firewall-centric concept, or a modern design of SASE architecture which is having some sort of flexibility in terms of security controls and advancements also.
Fantastic. You lead me on to the next question, right? Next, two things. You all make it sound so hunky-dory, all rosy picture, Kashmir Valley and all that. Can't all that be rosy, no? One, right? I'm sure there are some gaps. So let's look at what some gaps are. And the most important question in India, kitna deti hai bhai? Right? Kitna deti hai? Can we start with you?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question. Of course, when it comes to basically for any end customer to adopt, right, the cost comes into the picture, right? And honestly speaking, I will really say that it varies customer to customer, right? Because every customer has a different use case. There is no thumb rule for example, comparing the cost, right?
But let's say I want everything.
Yeah, so
let's compare everything. Let's say, these guys have everything. Then what has been experienced? Quickly, we only have 5 minutes for all of you.
So overall, if you look at, of course, maybe over a period of the time, of course, there is better ROI, and almost every vendor is also basically helping the customer to do an ROI calculation when you adopt the SASE as a solution. I think that's
what
my
was
answer.
your
I think everything we took, and we had a good bargain with them, so we got good price.
You squeezed their neck, right? Basically,
no,
you
for that our procurement team is there.
Okay.
Procurement is there. Their expertise is there.
What has been your experience, sir?
Technical evaluation, doing the right set of total cost of ownership, and submitting the right set of reports to the board also.
In your experience?
So it is completely worthwhile in our experience, even the cost optimization, and not only, for example, if you invest in SOC, so mostly you are making the cyber risk-free business. But if you are investing in SASE, you are returning
and you're not worried about
assets.
And you're worried about that you only have one vendor to
and
work
you are actually reducing the technology debt in terms of removing the old VPN setup and private links, domestic private links, and all those things. So we actually created the total cost of ownership in terms of actual monetary cost also, and that's the important.
Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
Have you had customers who actually benefited in terms of?
Yes, there are a lot of customers who are getting benefit on it, and I'm just coming back to what Jagannath mentioned initially. It's all about the business context and your requirement that will drive, because SASE has a lot of add-on components. It's not by default that everything comes in SASE. So you need to tick what is relevant for you and what kind of business risk you have. Then you can decide. And that's where that defines your cost.
Super. So any questions for any of the panelists? Yes, we have 2 minutes. So we can take 2 questions. Anyone, please.
So we can again scan this QR code to.
Okay, I'll stand up then. I can't. My neck doesn't turn all the way yet. panelists take 2 questions, so we'll take the first 2. Take the first question, please. You're best person to answer this, even though I know you have multiple locations.
Yeah, it can be benefited. It can be benefited. Because, see, nowadays nobody is working from one location. They're working from home, they're working from office, they're working from anywhere. So now the question is one location, one location is not right actually. They are working from everywhere.
No, I think so what he mentioned is right, but obviously if you work from one location also, SASE is not having the benefit that you work from multiple locations. There are multiple contexts to that. Though a user who is not using the corporate network also accessing internet, internet has to be secured along with the CASB and SWIG. So the requirement is very much pertinent.
There's a question that just ran away. It says, is SASE going to kill traditional solutions like firewalls? And there was something, I only managed to read that much. Do you want to take that?
Not completely, but yes, at larger extent, because if you see for incoming traffic, you need a firewall. So that misnomer is always there that, okay, if I'm replacing with the SASE, all my firewalls are going to be removed. So it's not like that. In data center, if it is an incoming traffic, right, it is coming from obviously from internet sources and unmanaged devices. So then you have to understand the context itself and the technology itself, how it is going to protect, right? Whenever it is from managed devices, then only it is going to secure you or some sort of control in terms of reverse proxy. Otherwise, you have to look into that. But yes, at larger extent, it is going to remove the older components.
Let me put Harshpal on the dock here. Are you going to kill all on-prem firewalls?
I really believe so, yes. The reason I'm saying is to answer your question. Of course, when the SASE started, it was only for the outbound, but that's not the case. We still can do even the inbound protection for your application. The Cato sockets, what we have, it also still do the north, south, east, west. Even you need to do the micro-segmenting within the data center also. It's going to do, although all of these technology is into the early phase, but if you talk about next 3 to 5 years, the answer is yes.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the panelists. Big round of applause for them, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you all for your enthusiastic participation. So I request Mr. Neeraj Davar to please come up on stage and felicitate our esteemed panelists. Please be on stage. Mr. Iyer, I would request you to please come on stage again for the felicitation ceremony. Can we have a big round of applause?